Hi, my name is Dr. Tamika Bell. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am very excited to be talking with you today on using the summer to start and complete research projects. Um, I want to thank the AMCD Writers Consortium for inviting me to engage in this chat with you. The objectives for today stem around identifying helpful tips for starting research in academia, how to outline a timeline for research projects, and discussing kind of dedicating time for research projects and tracking progress. I have included the websites and the contact information for the AMCD writers and the co-chairs of this committee. So just a little bit about me. My name is Dr. Tamika Bell. I'm an assistant professor in the counseling program at Governor State University in University Park, Illinois. I've been a counselor educator for about 8 years now, ending my 8th year. I am a LCPC here in the state of Illinois and an NCC. I've been teaching at universities here in Illinois and also in California. The one in California was an educational counseling program. I am currently involved in a lot of counseling professional organizations, such as SAGE, ICA, are pretty much primarily the two that I'm in, and a couple of divisions within ICA, where I serve as the president of our Counselor Education and Supervision Division, secretary for our LGBT Issues and Counseling division as well. So just a little involved in our professional counseling organizations. My research interests stem around multicultural competencies, specifically as it relates to individuals with disability and LGBTQ plus individuals. I'm very much interested in intersectionality, the intersection of race, gender identity, gender expression, ability, sexual affectional orientation, and how those things shape a person's worldview and how that influences the counseling relationship that we have, and also ourselves as well. I'm also very much interested in anything related to research, assessment, and program evaluation and counseling. Those are typically courses that I have taught and do teach in counseling education programs. I have presented pretty much at the state, regional, national, and international levels around multiculturalism, disability, allyship, pedagogy, assessment, LGBTQ issues, just a lot of different things. And my contact information is here. I will share it with the co-chairs to also share with you after, so that you have, should you have any follow-up questions. So just kind of the outline of what I will be discussing in our 30-minute chat today is just some helpful tips, to start a research project, how to develop a timeline, how to dedicate and identify time for your research projects over the summer, and tracking your progress. So first thing I want to start off is that really want to focus on the position that you're in or the position that you want to seek. So like myself, I am in a tenure track position. So there are criteria as it relates to my scholarly activities. It is really important if you are on a tenure track or promotion position that you review the criteria for those scholarly activities. Consult with tenured or promoted faculty within your program department to get their input about scholarly activity. The reason why I say this before I get into starting a research, starting your research project in the summer and using that time in the summer is because this gives you an idea of what is it that I need to do or work towards to achieve tenure. So for example, at some schools, I'm at a teaching focused school. So roughly they say, oh, if you have like 2 or 3 publications by the time you reach tenure, you'll be fine. So I know how to work my time and how to utilize my summers. There are some universities where it doesn't matter where, as long as it's a peer-reviewed journal. Some universities, it's certain peer-reviewed journals, as well as impact factor and its rating, things like that too. So you really want to look at those criteria to ensure that what you're wanting and how you're setting your timeline is helping you meet that goal. So, for example, my institution is pretty much set up that each year I should be progressing and moving towards and doing something. So it'll say, have something in preparation, have something submitted, have something accepted. Like it really specifies that I have to have this accepted in this year. So each year I have to be working on something. So it's important to really, before we even start talking about using the summer, what is it that you need? If you're not currently in a tenure track or promotion position and you're seeking one, consult with your colleagues and friends who are in those positions that, who are in those positions at Research One schools, Research Two, whatever schools, get their input so that you can start working your way as if you were in, so that you can, when you apply, you can speak to your research agenda in that. So I think it's really helpful to start off by talking about that before we really get into the nuts and bolts of how to use the summer. So developing a timeline. So this is basically kind of like my timeline for basically for the summer, but also for my academic year. So for us, summer teaching is optional. We do not have to teach in the summer. But sometimes I do teach in the summer, like I'm teaching this summer. But I'm still trying to figure out, because I'm thinking about my evaluation year and what I need to accomplish. So I'm figuring out, what do I need to do in the summer so that I can implement and stay on track towards my evaluation year, my year 4. So you really want to identify, so how I identify my timeline is I identify, like, by semesters, what is it that I want to accomplish? And then I start in my summer doing what I can do so that I can start, like in this case, collecting data in the fall semester. So what is it that I need to be doing during the summer so that I can start my data collection in the fall? Or if I wanted, and for me, because I'm using people who are generally may not be as available during the summer semesters, it's best that I do fall. That data collection, that can vary depending on who are your target population. If you think about counselor educators, there are some that are not checking emails or anything during the summer. So if that's your population, counselor educators and students, it might be helpful to kind of get access to them throughout the academic year. But for me, I have to start the data collection, or want to start the data collection in the fall to do that. So I use my summer to do preliminary stuff, like writing my literature review, my overview, writing my IRB protocol so that I can submit it. Those types of things is what I will do over the summer. Also, too, think about theoretical conceptual pieces or like things that you may have done. I've gotten advice before think about papers you've done for, for some of your previous courses, or things that you've kind of done if you're a newly assistant professor, things that you've done in your doc program. Think about theoretical conceptual pieces, or from your dissertation, like how can you make that a conceptual piece? How can you break that up to do that over the summer? Because you already have it, so it's maybe kind of adding more literature, updating it, and selecting the journals that you would like to submit it to. Again, this kind of depends on whether you teach in the summer or not, because some universities, because I've been at some, there's a quarter or 10 weeks that's from like May to the beginning of July. So really kind of thinking about what your summer is, and if you have to teach, how to include that, how to do that, and how to set up that timeline for yourself by using the summer. Another thing too is, and I think sometimes I know for myself, I get caught up in this and I try to do it all by myself. But reaching out to friends and colleagues who have same or similar interests that you do, so that you can divide up some of this work where it's not just solely just you doing it. So some of the things I have done, there have been individuals who have written articles that I found to be interesting, and I would just email them and engage in a conversation. And next thing you know, we're working together on a project, or someone connects me with, because they know, for example, for me, I have an interest in disability related research. They'll connect me with somebody who is also have interest in disability related research. And then we'll start talking about projects and things like that. So really kind of doing that too. Another thing, which is something I did last summer with a group I was invited to, it was a writers group. We met weekly for an hour over Zoom, and we would start off by talking about what we wanted to accomplish in our time together. And then when we ended, we would talk about what we actually did. And we weren't teaching this summer, so that was helpful as well too. So just really kind of developing a timeline of what you want to accomplish over your summer, but also prepping also too for your academic year. Because if you have a plan or a timeline kind of in place and you start doing that in the summer, then you're able to continue that process and try to get a bulk of it done in the summer. Then it makes it easier as you're teaching, depending on your teaching load. I mean, like I said, I, for one, and I'm at a teaching university. So I'm teaching 3 to 4 classes a semester. So for me, I have to utilize my summer to get a bulk of it done so that I can actually implement, if I'm doing research, implement the data collection part in the fall and semester versus trying to write a literature review, do the protocol, and then data collect, okay? I talked a little bit about this in my previous slide about the time. This goes back to reaching out to colleagues who have similar interests in you, but also colleagues who are also trying to work on their research agenda as well. And see if there's a time that you all can meet and just get writing done. But it's important to solidify time to where you devote time to your projects. You want to make sure it's a time where you have limited distractions or interruptions. So one of the things that I've done now, because I'm trying to stay on track towards my evaluation goals, is I try to dedicate at least an hour a day to working on research projects or doing some type of writing or something like that. That helps me stay accountable. Some people devote an entire day to research projects. That really kind of depends on your particular schedule. Some people are able to do it, some people aren't. But really trying to devote time through that. So in the summer, if you're not teaching, you could dedicate, a couple of days to writing, or a couple of hours a day and focus that on writing and making sure that it's somewhere where you don't have a lot of distractions. There are some people who like writing in a library. Some people like working with friends at their house or whatever the case may be. It's whatever kind of works for you, but setting a time that's consistent where you can dedicate that time to writing. Some people work better writing in the morning, others at night. So it kind of really varies to your personal style. So another thing too is how to track progress. This was something that I think it was similar for my dissertation committee gave me to track my progress. One of the things I did like about this is that it asks about my feelings. How was I feeling about being a writer? So one of the things that happens to me, and maybe other people can relate, is I have this imposter syndrome that comes comes out sometimes that prevents me from writing, thinking that, am I good enough? Is this good enough? And then I get in this vicious cycle, and then I just don't utilize my time very well. And then I see, a lot of my other colleagues, getting it out and, doing it. And then it then comes just this continuous vicious like cycle. I think it's important to be honest kind of about our feelings as it relates to our writers, so that we can be honest with ourselves, because we have them. I'm pretty sure other people have had those as well, but documenting them and continuing to push forward so that we're reaching our goal. And even, talking with other people as well has been helpful for me as well. One thing that I didn't mention before I talked about tracking progress is, setting what your goal is. So what is your manageable goals? So over summer, say that like my goal was to, let me go back here, was to complete my 2 manuscripts by the end of July. So these particular 2 manuscripts are things that are pretty much done, just really needed to be edited and trying to figure out where to submit it. And they're both conceptual theoretical pieces. So there's not a level of collecting research and analyzing it. It's just formatting it for the journal that I would like to format it to. So it's really good, helpful to identify manageable goals for yourself, throughout the research project. So with using summer, say your semester ends May 1st, okay? So you give yourself 2 or 3 weeks to grade, take care of yourself, whatever. So say that, okay, between May 15th and June 15th, I'm going to collect articles that, review my articles or collect articles surrounding this topic. From June 15th to June 30th, I'm going to do kind of like a annotated bib or somehow review articles and things like that too, to help you get the most use out of your time. So setting those small manageable goals are very helpful. So that was all that I have. I hope this has been helpful. I did want to note some additional resources that I have that I use that have been helpful for me. This book, Practical Tips for Publishing Scholarly Articles, this was given to me my first year teaching, and I still have it to this day. And it is very, very helpful. And it does, in the beginning, really they have a lot of like exercises to get through whatever stumbling blocks or barriers that we have about our writing. The other are articles from an issue in JCD. I think this was one of their special issues, but it talked about publishing various research projects in counseling journals. I just found this to be very helpful because it was very specific, and it helped me make sure that I address these areas in my research. So I hope this has been helpful. Here's my email address. Happy researching, and feel free to contact me if you have any additional questions or comments. Have a wonderful day.